Welcome back to the Barbecue Lab. I'm David, this is Joel, and today we're trying something that I have never tried before, and that is making bratwurst sausage from scratch. I've never done it, and my friend Joel has done it a couple of times, and so he asked me, hey, do you want to try to do that sometime? And I said, absolutely. Let's turn the camera on because I may get it right or we may get it wrong. Either way, this should be a fun video. Here at the Barbecue Lab, we're all about trying to gather people around food and fire. Making your own brats is something that I've always wanted to do, and today Joel's going to teach me how to do it. And then in just a few hours, we've got about 15 or 20 guys coming to the lab to eat our creation today. So there's no pressure of getting it right the first time, like you're having 15 or 20 people showing up in a little bit to eat what you make. So we're inviting you to follow along the entire process from going through and actually processing the meat all the way to getting it in the case to finishing it on the smoker and the grill. Follow along. This should be a fun one, but I want to answer the question, is it really that hard to make bratwurst from scratch? Let's find out. I've never done this before. You've done it a few times. Like, what's the first step we need to do thinking through all of this? We've got some meat in there. We've got parts of this mixer that are missing. What's the first step that we need to make sure people know when they're thinking about processing meat into bratwurst?
First off, getting the supplies you're going to need. You've got to have, what seasoning you're going to use, a plan of attack. You've got to source your meat. In this case, we're using a mixture of fresh pork butt and venison. The one thing I have learned, I haven't done this a lot. I do not claim to be a professional. I've done it a couple of times. But the one thing I have learned is the main thing you want to do to keep it safe is to keep the food as cold as possible. So right now, we have all the internal components of the grinder in the freezer. All the meat is ready to go. It's in the freezer, not frozen. We're just trying to even lower the temperature lower than it was in the refrigerator.
So Joel talked about we're using both venison and pork butts. The venison you've already trimmed and cut, right?
Correct, it's ready.
Okay, so that's ready. Now for the pork butt part, we have bone-in pork butts that we have in the kitchen. So we're gonna bring those out here, bone those, and then actually have our ratio of meat put together. So let's go grab some butts and we'll come back in and get started. We have 2 pork butts here that we picked up from our local restaurant supply store, and we weighed these, and these turned out about what?
A little over 14 pounds.
Okay, so we are looking to make a 25-pound batch of sausages today. And that 25-pound batch, we're looking for a 50-50 split between venison and pork butt. The pork butt, really pretty fatty. The venison, not at all, right? So we're getting our fat ratios from the pork butt itself. We're not cutting out pork and lean. We're not cutting out fat and lean. We're just letting it kind of ride between really, really lean venison and really fatty pork butt. But we want to go ahead and make sure we're getting 12.5 pounds out of each. So we're going to go ahead and take the bones out of this, get it into chunks so we can put it in the grinder. I want to locate the bone, not that hard. Bone's right here. You can kind of run your knife against the bone and start this cut. It doesn't have to be super, super tight because this bone's going to come out relatively easy. I'm not worried about a whole lot of waste. If you've ever pulled bones out of a pork butt, you're going to have a pretty decent idea of what they look like. And you're not going to get all the meat, but you can do pretty well. Joel's got the camera here. He's doing some up close stuff. And this is what's left. You can see that there's quite a bit of meat left on this bone. The question is, how much do you want to fight with this? There's plenty on here that you can get off pretty easy. I am a firm believer in just take off as much as you can get, and the rest is discard. I'm going to call that pretty good for a deboned pork butt. And the rest is just putting this into chunks to get into our grinder, knowing that this grinder is a 2-horsepower grinder from Meet Your Maker. This thing, you could almost cut this pork butt into thirds, chuck it down there, and that would be it. I'm gonna go ahead and make it a little bit smaller to make it easy, but this thing has no problem grinding meat. So that is pork butt number 1, which is the larger of the 2 pork butts. So we need to make sure we weigh this and get the right weight on the scale to get right 12.5 pounds. But we're going to start by just using one of these hotel pans, put all of our meat in there, and that way we can mix up the venison and the pork. So we're kind of feeding it back and forth. So it's not all pork butt on one side and all venison on the other. We want to get a decent cohesion in the mix there, or at least equal parts as much as we can. So that's kind of what we're going to do here. We have our 25 pounds of pork and venison, and we just pulled all of our pieces of grinder out of the freezer. And are they cold?
They're very cold.
Yeah, I mean, you have some marks on your hands still from carrying
Yep.
them, right?
Yep. Wasn't pleasant.
So all we need to do now is assemble the grinder. We've got our meat tub, and we're ready to grind this stuff. So let's go ahead and put it together. All right, we've got 25 pounds of pork and venison. We're ready to go ahead and put this in the grinder. This thing is huge. It is probably bigger than we would ever need for anything we do here at the lab. What do you think, Joel? Is it big enough?
It's overkill, in my opinion.
But I think it should do this no problem at all. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this on, put 25 pounds through. Let's see how long it takes us.
Small stuffers, a lot of times you have to use a stuff stick, or sometimes it'll want to get jammed up, or if your piece of meat's kind of large for the diameter, but you're not gonna have that problem with this machine. Well, 25 pounds, piece of cake. I'm calling it done. It's still seeping out a little bit, but
All right, and you want to mix it a little bit by hand?
looks so good.
So we just went ahead and whipped 25 pounds of venison and pork through this thing. How did it do?
Amazing.
Did you have any issues at all?
No, I couldn't feed it as fast as it wanted to eat.
Was it hot? You put your hand on it. Was it hot?
No heat coming off the motor, nothing. I mean, it didn't even, it wanted more.
Okay. So two horsepower up to a 25-pound batch, no problem. We've got our meat in the tub. What's the next step, Joel?
Well, we can either cool this off, make sure we're all prepped to go in. We're going to end up putting all this in the tub, adding whatever additives and seasonings we're going to put in there, and mix it up.
So let's stick this in the fridge for a little bit while we pull everything else together.
Yep.
Okay, we have our meat that's come out of the fridge, and what are we going to do next?
We're going to put this in the meat hopper. We got this hooked up to the grinder. It's attached, so the motor does the hard work for us, the heavy lifting.
All right, so this is how many pounds is this?
25.
Okay, 25 pounds. We've got 25 pounds in
We're
here.
going to test the limit.
We're going to test the absolute limits, and let's see what we can do. So let's add the meat first, and we'll fire away. So what do you think about the look of that meat? You pretty happy with it still?
Looks excellent. Actually, it's making me hungry, and it's raw, which is weird.
We have a couple things. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So the first thing we have is our milk powder, and this is to help us get that protein extraction to be able to make this nice and really sticky, so it actually sticks inside, sticks together, doesn't become a crumbly sausage. So that's what our milk powder is. We also have our brat seasoning, and so that our seasoning for the whole 25-pound batch is right in here. And then we have some water. Now, the water, we learned we need how much water?
10% to the weight of the meat.
Okay, so that ends up being what, 40 ounces we needed?
40 ounces.
Okay, so we have two 16.9-ounce bottles plus a few extra ounces, and so that's what's going to go in. So how about I go ahead and start with, we think, half of it so far?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and take half of our stuff, put it in there. Let's do some water. About half of our seasoning. Keep going.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. The rest of the milk powder. And you don't have to worry about, trying to track this. We'll have the recipe and all the ratios and things that we did down below. But this is 1 pound of milk powder for this recipe. There's the rest of our seasoning. And we have the rest of our water. All right, 25 pounds of brats. I'm gonna head on over, turn it on. I mean, it's looking like it's getting tacky, but I'd say another minute or two.
Can't hurt.
Yeah, I mean,
Like that side's kind of stuck, but now it's starting to loosen up, work its way. I want to see, yep, there it goes, finally rolling over.
I mean, I'm surprised it's moving everything in the barrel.
This is very cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, it could probably go more than 25 pounds. But I think it's the perfect amount.
Yeah. We've got our stuffer out here and ready. First thing we've got to do is get the meat out of this mixer and into the stuffer. Joel, is there any secret to it?
The only one I know is to kind of smash it in there best you can and try to keep all the air out as possible.
Let's do it, man. We're going to throw it down. Let me give you an arc. Nice. Oh, that's the way to do it right there. And all your years of baseball training coming in handy.
I mean, this is really like glue. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it hangs from the hand for sure.
You hold it both of them, try to push it down in there. Try to get any air out that might be stuck in there, like you can hear air.
Yeah.
Will you pull that knob? I'm gonna try to get the plate out. I'm digging around this plate, and that's not really fun.
Yeah, I think at this point it's going to be less about throwing and more about just mashing it in there. Yeah, I mean, that is, man, when it says 25 pounds, it's not lying. But 25 pounds of meat in this 25-pound stuffer, all the way to the top. So not really any extra room with what we're working with here. So we're going to put this 25-pound stuffer to the test to see if it really can handle all 25 pounds. All right, to get the meat into the stuffer itself, it's got to come in from the back, horn facing out, and then we can use the foot pedal here to actually go down and actually fill the top here. So meat mixture is in the stuffer. Our casings, we went ahead and ran water through them. They've been soaking in hot water. It says for a half hour, so we're a little past that. But we're getting ready to go ahead and put them on the throat here. Anything special? Just cram them on and hope for the best?
It's not easy, and it takes a little time.
All right, well, I'm going to sit back and watch you do it so we can show people how this works.
Oh, good.
So we decided we want to go ahead and size down the tube one because we were looking at this and we're having a hard time getting the casings on. So we went down a size knowing that we can get all we need out of it. We'll just have to let it backfill a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. We'll go ahead and put the casings on this one and go try to get this meat out and save it. All right, we've got the casings on. It's time to start stuffing. First thing we got to do is tie a knot on the end.
Well, I'm actually going to run the meat out through the tube, make sure I'm out here close to the end because you don't want to get a bunch of air. So I'm going to get the meat actually where it's coming out a little bit ideally.
And we're operating this with a foot switch on the bottom, which is really awesome. Love that. Hear it pressing, yeah.
Put that belt, there's a little air bubble.
Yeah, we're getting a little air out, okay.
All right, I'm going to tie a knot here in the end best I can. Pull this back up to it.
Yeah, pinch that and then twist. Yeah. All right, so we have our first one after our sacrificial one here at the beginning. I'm sure this is pretty much art at this point. Once you've done it a few times, then you can
practice.
Yeah, and then you're shooting for almost random lengths. Like you gotta try to figure that out. This is the part that I could see is actually takes some skill. We appreciate you coming to teach all of us how to do this. Now, I know some of you down below, some of you watching are just dying to get in the comments and say, hey, you guys are idiots, you're doing it wrong. Well, I mean, let us know. We're happy to learn. We'd love to learn from your expertise. Let us know down below. Or maybe you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, I wish I had tried this. I'd love to try this on my own. You give us a little encouragement that way as well. But what I'm learning here is that this casing part, like understanding the pressure versus being able to get it spun around, is something that might take a little bit of doing, but the nice thing is we got 25 pounds of meat, so let's see how we do. All right, so we hit the end of the first casing. We've got a nice little rope here. I'm gonna go take this out and put it on the smoker because we got guys that are already starting to arrive that are expected to eat here in about an hour. So we're gonna go get this thing smoking and we'll continue to case some more brats. We're gonna take it over here to the Lone Star. We're running 225 degrees. So we're gonna go top shelf with this rope and I'm just gonna grab it.
Yeah.
On the smoker, and we're gonna go ahead and push it back in and let her smoke so we can eat them. So here we are. We have our tray of brats, and we have made more brats tonight than I ever thought I would make in my entire life. So we made 75 pounds. We didn't just make a single batch of 25. We made 3 batches of 25. How long did it take to go through a whole 25 pounds of sausage into the casing?
Maybe 90 minutes per tube of just stuffing, not to mention all the grinding time, the mixing time, prep time, and a little break to eat one.
So we had a lot of guys here at the lab who were a part of the experience. They got to be a part of casing if they wanted to. They got to see the mixing part. We went back in the kitchen area and we did mixing, we did grinding. So they got to see the whole process from beginning to end. And that was a lot of fun for us because, I mean, they say in order to teach, you just have to be one lesson ahead of the students, right? And so that's where we were. We were one lesson ahead of the students tonight. And it worked out. We've got some lovely looking brats here. Are they all the same size? No. Did we break open a few?
Broke a few.
Yeah, just definitely broke a few. But we had a great time. Is it something you should try? I would say yes. But here's the things I would say. You should start with a 5-pound batch, not a 25-pound batch. And do you need this size of equipment to start? Absolutely not. Did it make it easy for this size of a batch? Yeah, it really helped the process along.
Yes.
But this is a very large investment to be able to use it. You need to be able to use it quite often to be able to pay that off. So I enjoyed the process. I will say that we took way too big of a bite the first time and swung for the fences. But the nice thing is we're going to have freezers full of brats, and our friends and our family are going to have freezers full of brats.
Yeah.
So it was a good time. Thanks for following along. I'll make sure that if you want to see the recipe or you want to see any of this, we'll put it down in the description below. I'm David. This is my friend Joel. We're here at the Barbecue Lab. Thanks for joining us. We can't wait to see you on the next one.